Thank you. Mr. Garamendi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admiral and Undersecretary, thank you very much for your service. I know that you've worked long and hard on extraordinarily difficult challenges, and it's much appreciated. I want to just confirm, I think I heard you say, Admiral Mullen, a moment ago, that the mission remains a counterinsurgency mission. Is that correct?
That's correct. The strategy is a counterinsurgency strategy.
Thank you. And that involves all that was just said just a moment ago, all of the clear and hold and all that goes with it. In other words, nation building is very much a part of this.
No, it isn't very, from my perspective, it isn't very much a part of this. It is a counterinsurgency strategy focused on, as the Secretary just laid out, limited objectives, which is what it's been and what the President talked about in his speech in 2009.
The notion of counterterrorism, that is to focus on the terrorists wherever they happen to be around the world, seems to be secondary to this mission in Afghanistan.
I think it's not secondary, integral. Very much, and it has been. I've spoken about that before. That's also how it's being executed. And I just don't separate the two. It's part of it.
Do you have, yes?
If I could just add, if you look at the region writ large, Afghanistan and Pakistan, and you look at the progress that we've made in terms of focusing pressure on al-Qaeda senior leadership, the Osama bin Laden raid is the latest example, but that pressure continues. It's looking at them globally. So there is, I would say, only an intensification of our focus on counterterrorism alongside a complementary counterinsurgency campaign in Afghanistan.
Are all of the Taliban the same? That is, the Taliban in Herat, the Taliban in Kandahar, so forth. Are they all the same, and do they have the same goal?
They are not all the same. This is a diverse, symbiotic network of groups that assist one another, that rely on one another, but do have overlapping but sometimes distinct goals.
Some would describe Afghanistan as a 5- or 6-sided civil war. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I would disagree with that. I think what's happening right now in Afghanistan is really the emergence of a nation from 30 years of war, and the rejection of the Taliban by the population, and with that, the reduction of the threat to us, because as the population rejects that movement, and as they build their own national capacity, Afghanistan is less and less likely to become a safe haven for al-Qaeda and attacks against the United States and its allies.
Can I just add one thing to this? This border area that we've obviously focused on, and al-Qaeda receives the focus, and Ms. Flournoy said symbiotic. I've watched terrorist organizations over the last 3 or 4 years merge with each other, increase their horizon in terms of objectives. So LET, which is a local outfit in eastern Pakistan focused on India, is now in the West and is now has transnational aspirations. And we see, so terrorist organizations are also different, generally in support of each other, and that in this place, this is the epicenter of terrorism in the world. And that's one of the reasons the focus on both Afghanistan and Pakistan is so important.
What's the cost of the strategy that you've described to us today, the cost in 2011, 2012, 13, 14?
Go ahead.
If you look at the costs over time, what we do see happening is those costs actually coming down.
Well, let's be very specific. Surely you have figured out what the cost of your strategy is.
Right.
And
so for
could you please share that with
2011,
us?
the request for Afghanistan was $43 billion.
I'm sorry.
In OCO, the request for Afghanistan. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we're running right now at about $10 billion a month.
Okay.
The request for
I'm sorry, that's obligation.
The 2011 request, I think, is for $117 billion. the bill of this, we look at it coming down about 30 or 40 billion a year based on the strategy that's laid out.
2012 will be how much?
120, less than 120 billion for 12. It was 160 billion in 11. So it's about a $40 billion decline from 11 to 12.
Okay. Could you please give us those numbers specifically?
We can
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman.